Okay, thank you very much for this amazing introduction, Renee. When it's always a pleasure for me to visit the GS Toastmaster Club because I remember being at your very first meeting back in 2015, kind of helping you guys along the way, and it's just great to see that the club has been blossoming, that there's a lot of new faces compared to the last time I came, and also some people that are there, some really core card club members. When Eden asked me to do a presentation, someone suggested something about going beyond the club, which is good because it's kind of something that someone suggested me to do before in a different club. So it's nice to just say a few words. So you can ask questions at any time during this presentation, but there will be also some time at the end, a separate section for you to ask questions as well. So don't hesitate to comment or ask me anything at any time. So Toastmasters as an organization is something that goes really well beyond this club of Goldman Sachs Toastmasters and even just beyond London, beyond the UK. So to start off, just a couple of numbers to give you an idea of the size of the organization. 360,000 members, I said circa, because the number fluctuates at any time. We're currently in March, April, which is renewal season, so the numbers kind of go down slightly and then go back up again up towards the next renewals. But this is still quite a huge number, and this is more members than other organizations like the Kiwanis or even the Rotarians. If we look at a UK organization that has that many members, we would actually be looking at most trade unions don't even have that amount of members. The National Trust got a lot more members, more members than that, but it's just quite a bigger scale. And amongst these members, 65,000 of them are leaders. It could be club leaders like Banke as a Vice President of Education and some of the other club leaders in this room. The Toastmasters International motto is where leaders are made. And even when someone is just a club secretary or a sergeant at arms, it is a leadership opportunity for them. The role descriptions are very vast, there's a lot of scope to them to kind of play around, learn and do a lot of new things as well. And these leaders look after 6,500 clubs. The exact number, I think, is 6,641 or something like that. But again, it is a number that kind of fluctuates on a daily basis. And clubs are being formed right now as we speak. They've sent their paperwork, it's being reviewed by World Headquarters. Clubs form as we speak, and there's a lot of growth in London at the moment. And these clubs are spread across over 142 countries. That's most of the countries in the world. In Europe, every single European country has got its own clubs now. I don't think Andorra's got, and Monaco have got one yet, but we're talking about very small city-states there. Some countries like North Korea do not yet have a Toastmaster club, but you know, maybe it might change in the future. And these clubs are divided in districts, we call them. I kind of explain a bit more detail what a district is, but it's pretty much the highest level of the organization, typically in a country or in a group of countries. In Europe, for example, we've got 2 main districts, soon to be becoming 6, looking after continental Europe. But UK and Ireland is already 2 districts in itself. So it really depends, and in some parts of the US, one district is basically just a large town like New York. And the best way to view it is like this pyramid slide is a picture from International Convention in Vancouver where everything was just explained to us. At the top of the pyramid there, obviously missing are the members, and you just get to see a huge idea of the number of leaders that are involved, all the way from club officers like Banke to kind of the board of directors, CEO, international directors, and so on. So how does it fit? We start off with the clubs. Clubs like this one have about 20 members, some clubs have got a lot more, but the minimum size of a club is about 20 members. And this is really where the magic happens, where people like yourself, they do role, they do speeches, and they learn in the process. I'm really pleased to see that Renee is being a Toastmaster for the first time. I still remember the first time I was Toastmaster of the meeting, waiting in McDonald's beforehand and feeling very nervous. Oh my God, what am I about to get good at? So huge commendation to Renee. It's a big role. It's a big role. You're chairing a meeting with sometimes up to a dozen or even 20 people in some of the larger clubs. So if you want to learn some leadership skills, some facilitation skills, the Toastmaster of the meeting is a great role to take on. Above the clubs, we've got the area. And the main purpose of the area is to support the clubs. Typically there will be about 5 clubs in an area. This club is part of area C34, so there's the Goldman Sachs Club, there's King's Cross Speakers, Tube Talk, who else is in your the area as well?
There's the Holborn?
Holborn is in a different area. I think there is Clerkenwell and Russian English speaker. I think I need to double check because there's been so much rules that sometimes it's just kind of hard to keep track of. So each area is looked after by an area director who comes and visits the club, gives a bit of advice. If banking or running needs a bit of support, he's the first point of contact, and he can also run some initiative at his local level. And he or she will also be training the committee, equipping them with the skills they need to run their clubs. But above the areas, you've got the divisions. This is Division C that has about 25 clubs in central London. So this is a very, very small division geographically. However, outside of London, there's a division that goes from all the way from Cornwall all the way up to the M25 in Heathrow. So the geographical scale can become a lot bigger, which brings its own set of challenges as well. And the main purpose of divisions is coordination, coordinating activities between the clubs, between the area, and supporting them as needed. Funnily enough, the way divisions are run can vary between countries and depending on size. When it's a very small division, just like central London, well, it's quite easy to visit things, to kind of run initiative, and there's less need for planning in some respect. But when you go into continental Europe, a division can be an entire country. France is just 2 divisions on its own. So the whole of southern France is just about 12 clubs and 1 division. And if you want to say, well, I'd like to grow that to 20 clubs, you're gonna need to do a lot more of that coordination. So the division director role can be a great role to take on actually, because it can really push you to kind of implement a strategy or come up with a vision on a more local level. And above that, we've got the district. And the district's main purpose, I'd say, it's supporting everyone else, but also strategic leadership. So drawing a plan for 1 year, for 2 years, 3 years, potentially even 5 years. And there's a lot of resources that the district as an organization can leverage as well. For example, some of these guest booklets there, this was designed by myself and other people at the district level. Then we ordered them, and because we can there's so many clubs, we can do economies of scale. Delivering these to the club just basically costs peanuts as well. So it saved the club some money, and it also served the purpose of the district as well in just expanding its reach and getting more members to the organization as well. One thing I must highlight is everybody in here is a volunteer. I am a volunteer as a club growth director, a bit of a professional volunteer because it has taken over my life in some respect, but we are all volunteer. Some of them have got families as well, they've got jobs, they've got businesses to run, so we all kind of tying this together. If you want to stretch yourself, especially from a time management standpoint and learning to delegate, being involved in district leadership beyond the club level is really an amazing way, because you're going to meet some amazing people. I'll just mention about that in a bit more detail later, and you're really going to be stretched. The final level though is this place in Colorado, because the headquarters moved to Colorado this month. This is where there is a paid core of staff that looks after everything. Admin, the educational materials, the manuals, they designed it in World Headquarters, and kind of also supporting the volunteers with any queries, with the kind of equipment and so on. That's what the main purpose of World Headquarters is. Now, in terms of my own journey and what I've learned along the way, I first learned about Toastmasters in 2007 in a self-help book. But I didn't join until April 2013. I only really became active quite in October though. Why didn't I join earlier? No club where I lived. It was a black hole. The West Country was a black hole and still is a black hole as far as Toastmasters is concerned. So I couldn't join, I could only gaze in envy basically. One of the highlights for me has been launching London Victorian as a founding president. Why did I do it? You might want to ask a couple of things. It was a bit of an ego trip, I must admit. I wanted to be a club president. But the second thing is I really wanted to stretch myself as a leader, to build something new in an area where there wasn't really a club that was centered on Victoria. learn to delegate in the process. It's been a roller coaster ride, but I loved every single moment of it, and I was really stretched through it. Then what else? I've been a district leader now since almost 3 years, first as an area, then division, and then club growth director. Got my DTM in June 2016. Now, you don't have to rush to get your DTM, guys. Some people get their DTM there in 20 years, and that's completely okay, because there is actually an argument that can be made that if you rush to get your DTM, you're not going to learn as much because you won't have time to assimilate. So if you're really motivated, by all means, plan several speeches ahead, try and speak at every meeting, but also take time to take a step back and reflect on what you've learned. I sometimes even look at some recent speeches I did in June 2016 and I'm like, oh my God, was I really so bad back then? Which is why I always make a point of asking someone to video me when I speak so I can just look back and reflect. Take your time, especially on the pathway. It's a good system. It will be a little bit easier to get your DTM on the pathway because there are less speeches to do in some respect. And I did my icebreaker again 2 weeks ago on the new pathway system. It's my third icebreaker, but again, I learned something new from the experience. I just got out of my comfort zone, shared a really personal story when I was bullied as a young kid. And again, it's just experiment. Toastmasters is a safe space to experiment. In this room, you're all Toastmaster member. Some of you might be a VP or maybe just PA or cleaners, for all I know. It doesn't matter, the status is left at the door. This is a safe space for you to experiment with your leadership style, with your speaking style, fail, take the lessons from it, take the feedback and move forward. So for launching London Victoria is a group picture of kind of shortly a year after we started. Great experience, and launching a new group really stretches you. Maybe one of you is living, I don't know, in let me think of a place in Woolwich. Anyone here living in Woolwich? Nope. It's a bit of a dump, to be honest. You might say, oh, I would like to go to a Toastmaster meeting after work in Woolwich, and there isn't one. Lunch o'clock then. I can provide some support from the district. It's going to be a great experience, and there's a lot of help available nowadays because my philosophy as a leader is to say it should be easy for the people doing the hard work, so they shouldn't have to learn from scratch. Then being an area director, so that's a picture from the area contest that we had. I had to organize 2 of the area contests, one in September, one in March. So we had David, who won the evaluation contest, and Tien Trang, who then went on to represent our district in Washington, DC in 2016. Some of the stuff I did was really supporting 6 clubs in the city. We started 2 in the process. One of them has since folded. I'm very sad to say, but it probably wasn't the right thing for them at that time. And also training leaders. I kind of wanted to stretch myself, so did a bit more training, 2 sessions and not just 1, but I learned a lot from it. When you start to train people, it's an extremely transferable skill in the workplace. If you can train people in Toastmasters, I'm sure you can train traders on anyone else in this building. Then it was moving on to be a division director, and that's a role that actually stretched me. For a couple of reasons, we also had some challenges in the organization, and I had some big goals, so it was all about finding a balance. Again, organizing contests, but this time much bigger events. So this was London Speaking Forum. I think some of you guys came to this event. Danny Callahan, is he still a member, Danny Callahan?
He moved to Asia.
Oh, that's a shame, because he was a great guy. He competed in that event. I think some of you came to support him. Jakub Pawlowski, do you remember him?
Yep.
He no longer works here. He co-organized this event with me, took it on as a high performance leadership project, and it was a great success. We had 200 people, we had catering to organize, 12 hours before the event started and so on. So it was a very short night for both of us, but we loved it, learned a lot from it. Also did a bit of a newsletter as well. And to give you an idea of the scale, we're getting into the hundreds in terms of members there, and 19 clubs. Some are stronger than others, so you have to really know who the strong clubs are so they can support the weaker clubs. It doesn't always work that way though, because sometimes clubs are quite protective. 2 conferences to organize, one in October, one in April, and also just you can start running some initiatives locally. One of them was the newsletter, which some people in IRF didn't really like, but the club leaders and members really liked it because they wanted to be kept in touch. Sadly, didn't carry on with the next division director, but that's okay. She wanted to do other things, she had other ideas, that's fine. And now being club growth director, which is my current role at the moment. This role has stretched me more than I expected, to be honest. Especially even 2 months ago when I realized that my approach to new corporate clubs, the initial conversation was completely wrong, as my mentor told me. You're thinking they're going to charge me immediately, you're not doing it wrong, and so on. Thank you, Eugene. So what have I done? One of the things is to build new clubs, just like this one. This is a picture of the Bloomberg demonstration, the lunch meeting. And another thing is writing documents like this. So this is a marketing plan with a set of action, where you have to start with a vision, which is growing the district, and then you have to delve down into the detail. So what's going to be the strategy, and then what are going to be the tactics. I kind of took on this task quite seriously, but actually learned a lot from writing this document. And if you can write a document like this for a volunteer organization, you can do it at work. You can write a plan. Okay, here's the plan for moving the Goldman Sachs offices to Dublin or Frankfurt because of Brexit. I hope it's not going to happen, by the way, guys. I hope Brexit's not going to happen, full stop. One of the action deriving from this plan has been there's a need for guidance to people. So writing this manual has been one of the ideas we're pursuing. It's still a work in progress, because some people say we want a lunch club, we don't know how to do it. Well, let's just write a book then and make it easy for people. Have one place for people to do everything. We have a box of stuff so that we give to new clubs as well, a bit of ribbon, stuff to get them started. And to just briefly explain, you're basically a C-level exec without the pay. You do get to travel a bit, but you're not paid, which is, well, it's a choice. But 5,000 members. And right now it's renewal period, we've lost about 1,000 of them. So you have to get, can we gain our members again? Bit of a challenge. And that's really stretching because we're all volunteers. And aiming for 10% growth in the club numbers and in members' numbers. How do you turn a vision into a strategy, and how do you turn a strategies into successes? I'm still learning. We're all learning in the organization, but this is what really you kind of learn when you're at the district director level. And if some of you have aspiration to go into C-level exec in the finance industry, Toastmasters is the cheap MBA in some respect. And it's a good training ground to learn some of the skills, I would argue. One of the highlights has been going to international convention in Canada, so where there's some very nice foods, such as poutine and double Big Macs in McDonald's. I do like nice food. I do like big portions of food. And you get to meet some people like Morag Mattison, which is now international director for EMEA in Toastmaster terms. She was standing for election. We had to interview her. You also get to meet people from other worlds. This is a Korean attire. There was an opening ceremony where people were dressed in their kind of country's attire. She's looking after the Korean district. This is my counterpart from France, France, the Netherlands, and the Benelux. We had a bit of a good picture together, bearing the fact that we are both, as you may have noticed from accent, both of us are French. And I had the immense privilege of carrying a flag in the opening ceremony. I'm not Serbian. My ex-girlfriend was part Serbian. Those who say, well, there's a list of flag. I might just pick up the flag just for, even though she was a little bit crazy. But still, great ceremony. There's the anthems. You get to see all these people, and that's where you say, wow, we're an international organization. And some people were carrying a flag, just like me, that's not from their country. So it's really brotherhood in action. It's the United Nations in action. The entire world, nationality, religion, race, united in a single purpose. That's really inspiring. I got to meet some really nice people along the way in Toastmaster, namely the people from my club of Victorian. This was one of our Christmas social that also fell on my birthday, so we had some good time. They tried to get me drunk but failed, but I think it's something that they're going to try to do again. This is Jean Gamester, one of my mentors, and I like her because she's not afraid of challenging me. When I do something, when she's telling me, you're doing this wrong, Florian, you should do it differently. And I like that, because the more feedback you get, the more tough feedback, the more you're going to learn. This lady is one of my heroes. Her name is Aletta Rocha. Some of you may have met her because she did a few events in November. She's from South Africa, is our regional advisor. And she's someone, the day I met her, I'm like, you're going to need to listen to this woman, Florian. Learned a lot from her. She became a professional speaker. She does this for a living as well, so she was kind of an inspiration for me into starting my own speaking business as well. This lady here is Nuala McHugh. She's now going to be an area director next year, but I still remember the day when she joined London Victorian. She was a guest and she did her icebreaker and she just grew on that journey. A couple of things I'd say, because I'm already on the red card, is just you can really get a lot out of Toastmaster in terms of speaking skills, but also in terms of leadership skills. And if you want to stretch yourself as a leader, become a club leader. There's position for 7 people on the club. But as we were discussing earlier with Bankier, we might do a relaunch event, for example, supported by myself and the district. Take charge of that.
Can you talk a bit about how the relaunch event works?
Yeah. So if, for example, this club does a relaunch event, the idea is let's fill a room, let's fill the biggest room. How big is the biggest room in this building, Becky?
It's what, 800, 1,000, the auditorium. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we're going to do an event in the auditorium, and I would like to fill all of the seats with people that want to learn about Toastmaster, 1,000 seats. You're going to, the district can support you with that, but then you're going to say, how is it going to happen? So someone will have to market this event, go to all the channels. Someone will have to liaise maybe with the CEO of Goldman Sachs, and you say, can you come and say a few words at this event, please, to just promote us and see how important it is for the employees to build their skills and bring more values to the business that way. I'm happy to talk about. Is there yes? You want a question?
So obviously, if you did that, say there was 100 people in this room, does it then provide challenges for people to speak in the allotted time?
Yes and no. If you do a relaunch event, the purpose is to inspire people about Toastmasters. So you do a lot of table topics instead. So you do a lot of table topics, 30 seconds to a minute, where more people get to speak, but ultimately only 15 to 20 people will get to do a table topic. So there is still a limitation. The purpose is to inspire them about joining. And then if they join, they're going to be doing speeches and such at meetings just like now, really. If you get like 20 people that want to join the club immediately, it might create some logistical challenges for the club, but I mean, in this meeting, for example, I'm doing a much longer speech where I'm already going over time. But you can have 3 people doing speeches. You can even start meeting weekly, for example. This is a huge building, and if you start meeting weekly, you're going to need a second VP to support Bankier. You're going to need a second VPM, so more leadership opportunities for people to take on and give back to the club and learn in the process. To me, the really thing I want to say is absorb tough feedback like a sponge. I've had some really tough feedback in Toastmasters sometimes. You're too direct, you're dictatorial, you're not showing your feelings enough, but that's okay. It's tough at first, you kind of want to cry sometime, but you learn. You take something on and then you can transfer to the organization. And fundamentally, everybody is supportive. We all support each other, we come from very different backgrounds, but we all support each other. It doesn't matter, we're all Toastmasters. I'm happy to take one question because I'm conscious of going over time, but I will be staying after the end of, after the meeting anyway. Any question, I'll take them after the meeting. Anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure to be in this club to deliver this speech. Thank you very much for Bankier, for having me, and for Eden. And it's now back to your Toastmaster of the meeting. Ready?
Thank you so much, Florian. This was very encouraging. And